In this video, I'm going to show you how I went from the oil field to software development at 34 years old. The reason why I'm making this video is because I've learned a lot over the last year and a half from changing careers from oil field to software development, and maybe you can take something away from this video if you're in the same situation that I was. So this story starts with me out west, working in the oil field, making $100,000 a year. I was doing slickline, which is downhole well servicing, and I drove rigs around and I did the whole oil field life. Had big house, toys, life, traveling all around the world all the time. I was living in Grand Prairie, which I did not grow up in. I grew up on the East Coast in Nova Scotia. So when I was going through divorce, at the same time, I was like, you know what would be really hard? I should change careers while I'm going through this divorce. I'm not sticking around in an oil town if I don't want to be in oil, and I've gone through the divorce with no family there, so it doesn't make sense for me to be out west anymore. So I used the divorce to kick off a bunch of other things that was going to redesign my life into what I actually want to do, which included changing careers, moving provinces, and going through the divorce. So my whole life changed about a year and a half ago when I landed here in Nova Scotia again. I had 8 years out west and my time was done out there, so it was time for a change, and I switched to software development. Now the next question you're probably asking is, how did you know that you wanted to go into software development? I had money, which was the only saving grace, and I landed back at my mom's. 34 years old, I was staying in my mom's spare room. When I got back, I was totally fucking depressed, so I had to rebuild my car just to have a fucking car to drive around in, which I bought off a buddy for like 500 bucks. And then I was thinking, what can I do? Blank slate in my life that I can choose to do whatever I want to do. I can make anything of myself. I know I'm smart. I went through divorce, changed careers, changed provinces. It was just a lot of life stuff balled into one big stress ball, essentially. So it took a lot of mental discipline to get through that, which I used fitness. My back was up against the wall. There was a fire under my ass. I had to start from scratch at 34, so I don't want to be a failure. And that was the driving force behind how I decided to do these next steps, because I didn't want to get to the end of my life and think, fuck, I could have done more. I wish I had fucking tried harder. So as soon as I landed, I was ready to go. I was depressed for the first couple weeks because there was a lot going on, but I had a fire under my ass. So I needed to get into a new industry. There was no oil field in Nova Scotia, so I was like, what can I do? What can I do with my natural abilities that I can make money, provide a good life for myself, and by the end of my life, I get to look back and say, oh, I did everything that I could. So I did all the typical divorce guy stuff. I got in the gym. I started reading. I started to work on myself. I knew no one was going to save me, so I was the only person that could do that. And one of the things I found was this diagram called Ikigai, which is a Japanese concept for what you're meant to do. It involves 4 circles, 1, 2, 3, 4. What you're good at, what you love, what the world needs, and what you can get paid for. So when those circles intersect in the middle, that's roughly what you should be looking at to do with your life. That's what software development is. It's building things. Anything that comes to mind you can create. I've always been creating stuff like this video, like writing articles, pictures, taking digital content and building a story around it. And I really enjoy making things, and software development pays really good money. The world needs it. It's not getting less digital out there, and I'm good at it. As soon as I landed back in Nova Scotia, I enrolled immediately in Nova Scotia Community College for their IT programming, and it's a 2-year program. Over the summer, I was like, fuck, it's gonna be 2 years, and I need to survive somehow. So I built an Airbnb. So that was summer 2022. September 2022, I started my IT program, which covers a lot of the basic computer science topics: data structures, algorithms, object-oriented, relational databases, client-side, server-side, documentation, Git, Java, C++, JavaScript, the whole web framework stuff. A lot of system design too, which is probably the most important, thinking about what you're building. And it's not just the code. You need to work with people, you need to plan. And this semester here, we're going into more self-directed study. We have a capstone course. We have some GIS, which is, the school that I go to is COGS, Center for Geographic Sciences. It's one of the best schools in North America for the GIS stream. We got surveying, we have marine geomatic, we have our IT programming, So that was September 2022. So during that first year, I also got accepted to go to Croatia to do a artificial intelligence program. So it was an international program through my school, which essentially paid my way to go do this artificial intelligence program in Zagreb, Croatia. Awesome experience. There was about 100 people from all around the world, all in different tech courses with a university over there called Algebra University. I met a guy over in Zagreb who was teaching our AI program. His name is Boris Agatic, A-G-A-T-I-C. He had this module in this AI program that was blockchain. It was very basic for beginners. Going through this module, it was the basis of consensus, how the Bitcoin blockchain worked, how the Ethereum blockchain worked, and all these decentralized applications that you could build on the Ethereum blockchain. And I already knew of this. I knew Solidity in its basic form. I knew that, you know, you make smart contracts with Solidity, put them to the web, and people can interact with the blockchain that way. I knew the basics, and I mined Bitcoin in 2021 in that pump. I had 3 ASIC miners that I set up in my garage, and I networked them together, and I was mining Bitcoin in 2021. In 2017, I bought my first Bitcoin off of an exchange here in Canada called Quadriga X, which is now bankrupt. And the guy, actually, you probably heard him in the news. He was the guy that disappeared. He disappeared, he died. People think he's in India, and he took a bunch of money from this exchange, but I bought my first Bitcoin off of that exchange. So I've been involved in the blockchain space since 2017, since I bought that first Bitcoin. You know, there's the halving, so it's like every 4 years there's a pump. People that have been in the space and have seen up and down, up and down, up and down, we've been watching it for years. So by the time it hits the news and the average person is excited about Bitcoin, that's when you start selling, because you're at peak FOMO when it's in the news. It also sparked an interest in Solidity and actually developing on the Ethereum blockchain. Finished my summer. I had 2 internships. One was for a diving company where I was a junior software developer with a group of 4 of my classmates, and we were building a console app. And the second internship that I had this past summer was a meal prep company out of the States called Prepped, out of Tampa, Florida. And I was a junior software developer, did some string changes, some integration testing, and I hooked up some documentation, UI stuff for their front end for their developers. Then this past September, I went back to school for my second year of programming. We've been doing more advanced OOP concepts. We've been doing more Java. C++ is new. Just nailing home the fundamentals. Using Git a lot more familiar with version control. More group work. So we built this weather app in one of our classes which organized people based on their strengths. So I kind of led that project. But some people are good at one thing, some people are good at others. So we split everybody up based on what they're really good at. And by the end of it, we had a really good weather app. So that whole story takes us up to now, which is Christmas Eve. I'm about to wrap up this video, head back to my family's. We're having a family get together. So that's pretty much the video. That's how I went from Oilfield, making $100,000 a year, really good money. I had a good life, traveled all over the world, the whole life. All that stuff doesn't matter. And when I was going through the divorce, I just looked at my life and I said, you know what? I don't want to do this anyway. I don't want to be in the oil field. I like computers, and I don't want to be out west. So I got divorced, left the oil field, and moved all at the same time to start from scratch. Software development at 34 years old. I'm 36 now. I'm about to graduate. I've got a bunch of interns under my belt. I've been overseas to do artificial intelligence. I'm just going to keep grinding away. I know what I need to do. If you don't know what you want to do, I would suggest go look at that Ikigai diagram that I showed earlier. Find out what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can get paid for. Day to day, you need to have little tiny goals that work towards that bigger goal. So if you don't know what the bigger goal is, you're just going to be going with the flow day to day on autopilot. And that is the worst thing you could be doing. Self-mastery essentially is what it is. You're training your mind that nothing in the outside world can affect you. You're in control of everything that you do. You're in control of your emotions. You're in control of what you do. You're in control of your feelings. You don't let your feelings dictate what you do in life. What are you doing every day to become a software developer? So I hope you guys like this video. I hope you were able to take something from it so you can learn from what I did, from my mistakes. So enjoy your family, happy holidays, and we'll see you in the next one.